So Activision announced that they had a new mobile Diablo game, and many people in the audience were upset, and they started to make fun of, Activision Blizzard over making Diablo a mobile game, which apparently was just a reskin of some Chinese knockoff to begin with. And the response from the people on stage was, "What? Don't you have any phones? Like, don't you guys have phones?" As if people who play these games want to play them on their phone. I know I don't. You want to know what games I play on my phone? I have like this little golfing game where like a little meter goes back and forth and you just tap the screen and then he launches the golf ball. And I kind of just stare mindlessly at it like wasting time. Right, there are games like Candy Crush. Yeah, they're fun to play on the train. That's not gaming, okay? People want AAA good games with good stories and fun dynamics, not mobile games that are limited and just kind of time wasters. There's like, what is there to accomplish when playing a mobile game? In my opinion, I'm just not into it, right? Well, anyway, MomBot on Twitter said, "I guess I didn't have phones because Activision Blizzard stock has taken a sharp decline, and Activision Blizzard says it plans to fire its CFO for an unspecified cause." Now, I often see these things, and people are saying, oh, their stock is tanking, that proves they're doing the wrong thing, but I think in reality, well, I think it's important to point out, tech stocks across the board have done bad. It's not necessarily indicative of something specifically that Activision Blizzard has done, right? Like, I've got some tech stocks. They've gone down a lot, like 50%, like some huge number. So let's just take a look at their stock, and then we can say, oh, wait a minute. Almost all of the gains made by Activision Blizzard in the past nearly 2 years have been wiped out recently. Something happened, okay? Now, I don't know how this relates to other stocks, and I do think it's fair to say that to a certain extent, what they're seeing in terms of loss does have to do with generally, like the market has taken has gone down a bit, but we have seen some recovery and some rallying. So let's take a look at this. Regardless of why it happened, I'm going to go ahead and bet that if you are an investor in Activision Blizzard, and I used to be because I'm such a huge fan of theirs, that I bought in when it was way lower than this, but I sold a long time ago because I said, you know what? I'm kind of getting worried with a lot of with the direction of gaming in general, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I have to imagine if you're a stockholder, and a prominent one, and you were looking at that beautiful peak on September, what do we got? What's the peak at? It was September 14th, $81, I believe. Oh, it wasn't even the highest, no. $83.19 on September 28th. And now nearly 50% of your stock value is gone. You're gonna be pretty upset about it. So when you hear that they make, they fire somebody, then you have to wonder why that is. Maybe they did something wrong. You see what keeps happening in gaming. And look, it's my opinion, I made a video about this, that I think gaming, as you've known it, as you've cherished it, is over. Completely over, okay? The reason, in my opinion, is that microtransactions have proven to generate revenue. And I was thinking about this when I was playing my stupid little golf game. Admittedly, it's a fun little golf game, don't get me wrong. But there's all these little microtransactions, like do you want to buy a better ball? Do you want to buy like a second chance and all these things? And I thought about how people actually spend money for nothing. Okay, if I make a hat, and I say, this hat cost me $1 to make, and I'll sell it to you for $5, I am then giving you something you can actually keep forever that holds value. But when you give someone money through a microtransaction, you're buying literally nothing that lasts for no amount of time. So in this game, for instance, where you golf, you can buy a special golf ball, okay? It's like you watch an ad, or you spend like, you buy tokens and then use the tokens to buy the golf ball, and then you press the button and the golf ball does its thing, and then a minute later the golf ball is no longer part of the game. It's gone. You're back to normal. You didn't really get anything. You literally are just giving money to someone to keep playing the game. This works. Look at how much money that Fallout Shelter made versus like the actual Fallout game. Now don't get me wrong. The actual Fallout 4 made a ton of money, and so does Skyrim and all. They make a ton of money, okay? But these mobile games have ridiculously low overhead. They're very simple, and they can keep charging you. And it's very likely the average person in a year, 2 years, is going to spend more on microtransactions than they are on the actual game. So here's what happens. We have the wonderful Fallout 3, one of my favorite games of all time. It's amazing. Then we have Fallout 4. It was kind of okay. They tried to make it more casual to make more money, and I think they kind of missed the mark, but hey, it wasn't that bad. Then you get Fallout 76. Microtransactions, because what happens in Fallout 76? You earn atoms, or you buy atoms, and you use those atoms to make your base better. They effectively tried taking Fallout and Fallout Shelter and put it together. Why? You pay $60 for a game, and then throughout the time you play it, you're spending more money on microtransactions. I think this spells doom for many of these companies. And it's not just because they're making garbage products. It's because the gamers don't want those garbage products. Okay? I was mildly okay with Fallout 76 when it came out. I made a video saying, hey, it's not that bad, guys. And people were like, Jim, what's wrong with you? And I was like, guys, give Bethesda a chance. They're going to do an okay job. Okay? I think they're going to patch it and they're going to fix it. Destiny had some problems, but over time, the live team made Destiny better, and I really enjoyed it. And then Bethesda came out with some new patches that totally ruined the game in every capacity. And I said to myself when playing, Destiny introduced microtransactions. You can buy silver and use silver for cosmetics and stuff. And then Bethesda launched, and I said, look, that's fine. I just won't buy it. I get it. They're companies that want to make money. So long as the game is good, I'm not concerned about your cosmetics shop. But Destiny actually allowed you to buy mods. You could actually take physical money and buy modifications that you needed to upgrade gear. It was a tiny, tiny dive into pay to win. And that's kind of worrisome. Now, I think for the most part, they've gotten rid of that. I admittedly haven't played Destiny in a while. So Bethesda introduces this with different outfits and different things, and I'm like, I think that's fine. Okay, if I can buy the game and play the game, and there's no restrictions based on how much money I have, sure, that's fine. But what ends up happening with Fallout 76 is the game is basically unplayable. It's just trash at this point, and I haven't touched it since, and that kind of bums me out because I enjoyed playing it with my friends, okay? This is what I think happens. They make these crappy games that no one wants to buy, but something else happens. In a desperate attempt to generate more revenue off their games than simply just what people paid for, they make trash products nobody wants, and then when nobody wants them, what happens? Their stock collapses. Then people say, hey, this ain't working anymore, and they pull out, they sell their stock. Well, that's basically why it collapses. People say sales are bad, dividends are going to be bad. It's a bad time to invest in these companies, and they are all basically doing this. I believe we will still see some kind of AAA game in the future. There's going to be indie studios who are really passionate and are going to make awesome storylines, but the big companies, I mean, look at what Bethesda did with Fallout 76, okay? They removed the storyline. They removed character interaction. They removed speech choices and literally just made an empty world where you can give them money all the time to look better, to make your house look better. That's not a fun game. They're trying, in my opinion, what they're trying to do is they found something with mobile gaming. They said, wow, these mobile games are an addiction machine. How can we take those principles and apply them to to console gaming and PC gaming so that people will keep giving us their money for literally nothing? When I buy a game, I am paying you $60 in exchange for the game, the product. But what you're trying to do now, Bethesda, EA, and these other companies, you're saying it's not good enough to actually just make you buy the game. You now have to give us money for things that don't exist, you can never keep, and have no value. It's one thing when you see a lot of these games. I've played these free-to-play MMOs. Like years ago, I briefly played MapleStory because my friends told me to play it, and I thought it was okay. And they're free games where you can choose to buy cosmetic items for fun. And that's their model. Hey, we made a game. Normally we'd sell it, but we're going to give it to you for free because we want you to then buy stuff later. And Hearthstone is kind of like this, right? And I have no problem with that. It's $2 for a new pack of cards, but the game is mostly free to play, and you can keep playing whether or not you actually buy, give them any real physical money. Although I think the solo, you do have to buy the solo adventure packs, but then you're buying a game, that's fine, okay? This is where I think gaming is going to go. And that's why I think we see things like this. This is CNBC. Netflix has, so they fired the guy. Netflix hired him. And it's really fascinating because of what we saw with Bandersnatch recently. People have been talking about how Bandersnatch is this great new interactive experience in movies, and I'm kind of like, yeah, but Detroit Become Human was way better. So maybe there's something there. Maybe Netflix is snatching this guy up as CFO. I don't know what he's going to be hired as. They say Netflix has hired Newman as Chief Financial Officer. Okay, so he's moving as CFO from Activision Blizzard to Netflix. And maybe it's because Netflix wants to get in this game of interactive content. So it's going to be really funny. I think the future will be particularly interesting for two reasons. Netflix is making more interactive videos. Apparently, Bandersnatch wasn't the first time they tried making a video game. And yes, it's a video game. It's a very bad video game. But these big studios are increasingly doing these microtransaction garbage games. Maybe we're going to come to a point where it's like a happy medium, where actually a sad medium, because it's going to suck across the board. Because Bandersnatch, in my opinion, was trash. And Fallout 76 has become completely unplayable, and I give it like a 3 out of 10 at this point. We're coming to a point where they're going to level out, and all games and Netflix interactive content will be total trash that nobody wants to engage with. The stocks will collapse, the people will get fired, and maybe, only then maybe, will there be some kind of renaissance, and indie game studios will start emerging. They'll start making tons of money because people will crave real games, And that hole in the market being created by these garbage games like Fallout 76 and these trashy things from Netflix will result in people making really good content and really good games. Better games. Right now there's a game that I've been playing called Skater XL. Okay, it's people wanted EA Skate 4. EA hasn't made it, so an indie studio made Skater XL, which is basically at this point an early access game, $20, and you've got like one level, and it's really good. It's really well done in my opinion. The modding community has started to build upon it, and I think maybe this will be the future of gaming. Open source to an extent, like communal support for games, making things better. It's almost like in some circumstances Bethesda relies on their modding community to fix the problems in their games. Anyway, I could rant on this kind of stuff forever. Long story short, people apparently don't have phones. Dude gets fired, dude goes to work for Netflix, and this shows how things are kind of progressing in terms of what Netflix is doing and what's happening in gaming. And I'm gonna say, man, I'm not confident in the future of gaming. Sorry, a lot of gamers might be mad, but anyway, stick around. More videos to come, and I will see you in a few minutes.